The camera cuts to a glittering ballroom. Chandeliers blaze overhead as polished shoes click across marble floors. At the center of a crowd stands Maya Bennett, her weathered boots and thrift store blazer a stark contrast to the champagne flutes and tailored suits around her. Victoria Grant, a sleek-haired socialite, smirks into her phone. "Van life? How quaint," she drawls, loud enough for the room to hear. A ripple of laughter follows. Maya doesn't flinch. She sips lukewarm tap water from a borrowed glass, her eyes steady. Why is she here? Why isn't she leaving? The silence stretches, uncomfortable, deliberate. Somewhere in the crowd, a stranger narrows their eyes. Something isn't adding up. Maya doesn't leave. She doesn't retreat, doesn't stammer, doesn't clutch her glass like a shield. Instead, she tilts her head, studying Victoria with the patience of someone who's seen storms worse than this. Around them, the ballroom buzzes, a symphony of clinking glass and forced laughter, but the circle around Maya tightens as if gravity itself leans in. Van life? How quaint! Victoria repeats the words, stretching them like a taunt, but her smirk falters when Maya replies, "Quaint pays the bills." A beat, a flicker of confusion in the crowd. Someone mutters, "Who even invited her?" Another shrugs, "Gatekeeping's free, I guess." Yet Maya stands rooted, shoulders squared, as if this isn't her first time swimming upstream. A waiter offers canapes. She declines with a polite nod. No one else notices the way her eyes track the room, the way she seems to catalog every face, every sneer. Why endure this? Why stay? A man in a charcoal suit lingers near the exit, arms crossed. He's watched Victoria humiliate 3 others tonight, but now he squints at Maya. Something in her stillness unsettles him. Somewhere a phone buzzes. A notification flashes. 10K likes. Your van life fail trending. Maya doesn't check her pocket. She knows. Maya's boots sink into the plush carpet, as if anchoring her to the floor. Around her, sequined gowns swirl, cufflinks glint, and laughter rings sharp as shattered glass. Yet she stands still, a statue in a museum of clowns. Victoria Grant circles her like a shark. Champagne flute. Raised? "Let me guess," Victoria purrs. "You're here for the free hors d'oeuvres?" A chorus of giggles erupts. Maya doesn't blink. She glances at the waiter hovering behind her, then back to Victoria. "You'd know better than most how far charity stretches," she replies. Silence. Someone gasps. Victoria's smile cracks. The room shifts uneasily. A man in a velvet bow tie mutters, "Touché," before retreating. A woman in pearls clutches her clutch tighter. Only the clatter of ice in glasses fills the void. Maya's gaze drifts to the ballroom's edge. A flicker of movement catches her eye. A security camera pans slowly, its red light blinking like a heartbeat. She tilts her head, watching it settle on her position. A beat. A ghost of a smile. Flashback. Rain pelts a rusted van's windshield. Maya huddles under a blanket, fingers numb as she types on a laptop balanced on her knees. The screen glows. "Final offer accepted. 2.1 Demeter." Cut to present. Her calloused hands, now gripping the borrowed water glass, knuckles pale. The memory vanishes as quickly as it came. Victoria regains her composure. "You're clearly resourceful," she sneers, gesturing to Maya's frayed sleeves. "But let's be honest, this isn't your world." A murmur of agreement ripples through the crowd. Maya sets her glass down. "Funny," she says, voice low. "I was about to say the same about you." A man in a charcoal suit steps forward, Olivia Hartman's assistant, his tie askew. He eyes Maya warily, then whispers into his wristwatch. Somewhere, a door creaks. Open. A figure in a black coat slips inside. unnoticed. Maya exhales. For the first time, her shoulders sag, just slightly. But her eyes stay locked on Victoria, steady as a sniper's aim. Why does she endure this? Why stay? The questions hang, thickening the air. The camera's red light blinks again. The laughter started as a ripple, then swelled into a wave. Someone, no one would admit who, raised their phone first. A shaky close-up of Maya's face filled a screen, followed by a split-second clip of Victoria's sneer. Van Lifefail blinked into existence, tagged with a mocking emoji. Within seconds, 3 more phones joined the first. "Smile, Maya!" someone jeered. "You're going viral!" Victoria seized the moment. She snatched a linen napkin. From a passing tray, scribbled "charity case" in bold lipstick strokes and draped it over Maya's shoulder like a sash. The crowd erupted. A man in a velvet jacket snapped a photo, grinning as the flash blinded Maya for a fraction of a second. She blinked but didn't move, her hands still clasped loosely at her sides. "What's next?" Victoria purred, leaning in until their faces nearly touched. "A crowdfunding campaign for your dignity?" A woman in a sequined dress giggled. "Or a GoFundMe for her shoes?" Maya's gaze flicked to the napkin. For the first time, her jaw tightened, just slightly, like a door locking itself shut. But before she could speak, a glass of red wine sloshed onto her sleeve. The spill was deliberate, the kind of accident that carried the weight of 1,000 passive-aggressive dinner parties. Wine darkened the fabric, spreading like a stain across the room's collective conscience. "Oops," muttered the culprit, a stockbroker with a smirk too wide for his face. "Clumsy me." Silence, a heartbeat. 2. Then Maya laughed, a low, unhurried sound that cut through the tension like a blade. "Funny," she said, dabbing at the stain with the corner of the napkin. "I've had worse." She glanced at the security camera again, her eyes lingering just long enough to make the assistant in the charcoal suit stiffen. He whispered into his wristwatch, his voice tight. "Keep recording." The crowd, sensing weakness in Maya's refusal to crumble, surged forward. Phones wavered in the air, capturing every angle. Comments poured in faster than the wine had spilled. "She's got nerve, I'll give her that." "Why isn't she crying? This is the best thing I've seen all week." Victoria seized the momentum. "Let's make this official," she announced, pulling a pen from her clutch. She turned to the nearest guest, a timid woman with a lanyard around her neck, and snatched her name tag. Scribbling furiously, she pinned it to Maya's chest. The tag read, "Property of Global Airbnb Network, handle with pity." The room roared. Someone live-streamed the spectacle, the feed titled "Watch This Loser Get Schooled." The view count skyrocketed. 50K, 100K, 200K. Maya stared at the name tag, then up at Victoria. Her expression hadn't changed, but her eyes, those steady, unreadable eyes, gleamed faintly, as if she'd just glimpsed the finish line. A server brushed past, balancing a tray of flutes. Victoria's hand shot out, knocking one into Maya's path. The glass shattered against her hip, scattering shards at her feet. "So sorry," Victoria whispered. "But you know how it is. Some people just don't belong here." Maya looked, down at the mess, then back at Victoria. Her lips parted, but no words came. Instead, she exhaled, a slow, deliberate breath, and stepped forward, her boots crunching over the glass. The crowd parted like water. Somewhere, the security camera's red light blinked faster, as if racing to catch up. The ballroom doors swung open with a sharp clang. Every head turned. A woman strode inside, her heels slicing through the murmur like a blade. Olivia Hartman, CEO of the global Airbnb network. Her presence alone was enough to make Victoria's smirk falter. Olivia's tailored blazer hung like armor. Her silver hair swept into a knot so tight it seemed to hold the room's chaos at bay. She paused, scanning the crowd, her gaze landing on the napkin pinned to Maya's chest. Her lips thinned. Victoria rushed forward, clutching her champagne flute like a lifeline. "Olivia! You're just in time. I see what you were," Olivia interrupted, her voice cool as winter steel. She stepped past Victoria without another glance, her eyes locking onto Maya. For a heartbeat, the two women studied each other. Olivia, the polished titan. Maya, the disheveled outsider, still damp with wine and spite. Then Olivia extended her hand. "Miss Bennett, thank you for coming." A collective gasp rippled through the room. Victoria froze mid-step. "Wait, Bennett?" she repeated, the name suddenly heavy with unfamiliar weight. Maya took Olivia's hand, her grip firm despite the glass shards still crunching underfoot. "You're welcome," she replied, as if they'd been expecting each other all along. Olivia turned to face the crowd. "I assume my message was clear," she said, her tone sharpening. "Tonight's gathering was not a social event. It was a shareholders' meeting." Silence. Victoria's knuckles whitened around her glass. "A shareholders' meeting?" she echoed, her voice rising. "Then why is she here?" She jabbed a finger at Maya. "She's some vagrant who crashed the party." Olivia's gaze didn't waver. "Ms. Bennett owns a 47% stake in this company. That makes her your de facto employer." The words hung in the air, detonating like a grenade. A man in a bow tie choked on his drink. A woman in pearls dropped her clutch. Victoria's face drained of color. "Liar," she hissed, but her voice trembled. "Prove it." Olivia didn't blink. She reached into her blazer and withdrew a tablet, swiping the screen. A projector above the ballroom stage flickered to life, displaying rows of legal documents, financial statements, and a signature, Maya Bennett, inked in bold. The crowd surged forward, phones snapping photos, voices overlapping in a frenzy of disbelief. Victoria staggered back. "This is a trick," she spat, but her eyes darted to Maya's face, searching for cracks in the facade. There were none. Maya stood still, her expression unreadable, as if she'd spent years rehearsing this moment. Olivia lowered the tablet. "Ms. Bennett also happens to be the co-founder of this network," she added, her voice slicing through the chaos. "Alongside her late partner, Ethan Brooks." The mention of Ethan's name sent another shockwave through the room. Whispers erupted. "Ethan Brooks? The tech genius who died last year? The one who built the algorithm for the entire platform?" Victoria's mouth opened, closed, opened again. "No," she whispered. "He worked alone. There's no record of a co-founder." Maya finally spoke, her voice quiet but cutting. "He preferred it that way." She glanced at the security camera again, its red light blinking steadily. "But Ethan always believed in proof." Olivia nodded. "Which is why we've preserved his final email to the board." She tapped the tablet. A speaker crackled to life, projecting Ethan's voice, crisp, warm, unmistakably alive. "To the shareholders. If you're hearing this, it means Maya has returned. Whatever she says goes. She built this with me, even if the world never knew her name. Trust her. Or don't. But know this. Anyone who harms her harms everything we created." The recording ended. The room was silent. Victoria swayed, her breath coming in shallow gasps. For the first time, her mask of superiority crumbled, replaced by raw, unfiltered terror. Maya stepped forward, her boots crunching over glass, over napkins, over the remnants of Victoria's smugness. "You see," Maya said, her voice soft as a blade's edge, "I'm not the charity case here." Victoria's phone buzzed violently in her pocket. She glanced down. Her social media feeds were imploding. Van Life Fail had been hijacked. Tweets flooded in. Turns out the van woman owns the company. Victoria Grant just humiliated herself. Proof that karma's real. Maya. tilted her head, watching Victoria's panic mount. "You should have checked the guest list," she murmured. Somewhere, the security camera's red light blinked faster, as if racing to document the unraveling. The projector screen flickered, then stabilized into a grainy black and white feed. Olivia Hartman's voice cut through the stunned silence. "Let's revisit the last hour," she said, tapping the tablet. Starting with the moment Ms. Bennett arrived. The footage rolled. Maya watched herself step into the ballroom, her boots crunching against marble. The camera zoomed in on Victoria Grant's face, her eyes narrowing, her lips curling before she'd even spoken. The room tensed as the recording replayed Victoria's first jab. "Van life? How quaint." The crowd's laughter echoed from the speakers, tinny but unmistakable. Maya's own voice followed, steady as stone. "Quaint pays the bills." The screen cut to a close-up of Victoria's reaction, a flicker of irritation, gone in a heartbeat. Then, the waiter offering canapes, Maya declining. The camera lingered on her hands, her posture, the way she'd cataloged every sneer. "Why endure this?" Olivia murmured, as if voicing the question the audience had been asking since the hook. The footage accelerated. The wine spill, the napkin sash, the name tag pinned like a trophy. Victoria's smirk widened with each humiliation, her confidence growing as the crowd egged her on. The live stream counter climbed, 200K, 300K, 400K. Phones wavered in the air, capturing every angle. The room's real-time gasps mirrored the recording's audio. Then, the most damning clip, Victoria leaning into Maya's face, whispering, "Some people just don't belong here." A collective shudder rippled through the ballroom. Someone muttered, "She's finished." Olivia paused the footage. "But let's rewind further," she said, swiping. The screen rewound to a moment unseen by the crowd, a private exchange, between Victoria and a man in a velvet jacket. Their lips moved, their voices muffled until Olivia tapped the tablet again, enhancing the audio. Victoria's voice rang clear. "She's a nobody. A washed-up van dweller. I checked her socials. 0 followers, 0 credibility. She's here to scam someone." The man laughed. "Or just crash the party." Gasps erupted. Victoria staggered back, her hand flying to her throat. "That was private," she hissed. "Was it?" Olivia replied, her voice glacial. She gestured to the security camera in the corner, its red light now glaring like an accusing eye. "Did you truly think this room wasn't monitored?" Maya finally spoke, her voice quiet but sharp. "You assumed no one would care what you did to me," she said. "But Ethan always said bullies thrive in shadows." She stepped toward the screen, where the paused footage showed Victoria pinning the charity case napkin to her chest. "You didn't just humiliate me," Maya continued. "You lied about who I am. That's not cruelty. That's cowardice." Victoria's phone buzzed violently. She glanced down. Her mentions were exploding. Van Life Fail had been hijacked. Tweets flooded in. Turns out the van woman owns the company. Victoria Grant just humiliated herself. Proof that karma's real. On the screen, Olivia resumed the footage. The wine spill, the shattered glass, the crowd's laughter. Then the moment Maya had stared at the security camera, her lips quirking into the ghost of a smile. The room leaned forward as if the recording might explain it now. "She knew," someone whispered. Olivia froze the frame. "Ms. Bennett didn't retaliate because she couldn't," she said. "She didn't retaliate because she chose not to." She swiped again, pulling up a time-stamped document. A legal file stamped with Ethan Brooks's signature, dated a year before his death. "Ethan's final directive," Olivia announced. "He entrusted Ms. Bennett with his shares, with orders, to expose anyone who weaponized privilege against her." The room erupted into chaos. Reporters scrambled to live stream the fallout. Guests whispered about lawsuits, reputations, careers. Victoria's face contorted, her composure shredding. "This is a setup," she spat, her voice shrill. "You're both lying!" Olivia turned the tablet toward her, displaying a screenshot of Victoria's private message to a friend. "Just humiliated some van trash, felt amazing." Victoria's mouth opened, closed. Her phone buzzed again. A news alert flashed on screen. Viral celebrity investor exposed for bullying co-founder of global Airbnb network. The camera's red light blinked faster, as if racing to document the final collapse. Maya stepped forward, her boots crunching over glass, over napkins, over the remnants of Victoria's arrogance. "You wanted proof?" she asked, her voice soft as a blade's edge. "You've got it, in living color." Somewhere, a phone live-streamed the ballroom's pandemonium. The view count skyrocketed. 1 mem, 2 whim. The camera's red light blinked once more. Then it stopped. The ballroom was a pressure cooker on the verge of explosion. Phones buzzed in every hand, live streams capturing the fallout in real time. Victoria's face had gone from pale to flushed, her breaths coming in shallow gasps as she stared at the paused footage of herself, pinning the charity case napkin to Maya's chest. The room's collective gaze shifted between the frozen screen and the woman it framed. Still standing, still composed, still watching. Then, Maya stepped forward. Her boots crunched over wine-soaked glass, over the napkin Victoria had slapped. On her, over the remnants of 100 smug sneers. She stopped inches from the screen, her reflection ghosting over the grainy image of her own humiliation. For the first time, her voice carried a note of something sharper than steel. "You think this is about me," she said, her words slicing through the chaos. "But it's about all of you." Olivia Hartman stiffened. Victoria's mouth opened, closed, opened again. Maya turned to face the crowd, her gaze sweeping over them like a judge surveying a courtroom. "Ethan and I built this network from nothing," she continued. "We coded it in a van, slept in parking lots, and fought every investor who called us quaint." She paused, letting the word hang, the same word Victoria had used to mock her. "But we didn't build it for people like you." A woman in a sequined dress flinched. A man in a velvet jacket muttered, "Who's she talking to?" Maya answered him. "The people who think power is a title, who confuse wealth with worth, who humiliate strangers because they believe anonymity means impunity." She gestured to the security camera, its red light blinking once, then dying. "You didn't just insult me tonight. You exposed yourselves." Victoria's voice cracked, like shattering ice. "Exposed ourselves. You're the one who walked into this room like a charity case." Maya tilted her head. "Did I?" The room held its breath. Olivia's tablet buzzed, a new notification flashing across the screen. She glanced at it, then at Maya, her expression unreadable. "Ms. Bennett," she said slowly, "there's something the board hasn't shared. A clause in Ethan's final directive." Maya nodded, as if she'd expected this. "Play it." Olivia tapped the screen. Ethan Brooks's voice crackled through the speakers again, clear, warm, but edged with steel. "To the shareholders, if Maya has returned, it means the system worked. She's not just my co-founder, she's the sole executor of my estate, the final arbiter of this company's future, and the only person I'd trust to purge the rot we've let fester. If you've harmed her, you've proven you're part of that rot." The room erupted into chaos. A reporter shouted, "Purge the rot? What does that mean?" A man in a bow tie whispered, "Is she firing everyone?" Victoria staggered back, her heels catching on the carpet. "This is insane," she screamed. You can't just, I can," Maya interrupted, her voice quiet but unshakable. "Ethan gave me that right." Victoria lunged for her phone, scrolling wildly through tweets. The headlines were relentless. Viral celebrity investor exposed for bullying co-founder of global Airbnb network. Van life fail becomes van life owned. Maya Bennett, the woman who built the company you tried to destroy. She whirled on Olivia. "This isn't real," she hissed. "She's lying! Ethan never what?" Maya cut in. "Trusted people like you? He did, until they proved him wrong." She stepped closer, her eyes narrowing. "You think this was an accident, that I stumbled into your little party?" Victoria froze. Maya's lips quirked into the ghost of a smile. "I chose to be here. The words landed like a bomb." "What?" someone whispered. Maya turned to the crowd, her voice steady as a heartbeat. "I let this happen. Every insult, every lie, every spilled drink and snickered joke. I let it happen because I needed to see who you really are." She gestured to the dead camera. "Ethan always said the truth comes out when people think no one's watching. But I knew someone was." Olivia's tablet buzzed again, a final message lighting up the screen. Maya read it, then looked up, her expression unreadable. "The board's just voted," she announced. "Effective immediately, Victoria Grant, and her associates are removed from the network." "Permanently." Victoria's scream was raw, animalistic. "You can't do this." "I already have." The room dissolved into pandemonium. Phones live-streamed the collapse of Victoria's world, her followers abandoning her faster than moths flee flame. Reporters scrambled to update their headlines. Guests whispered about lawsuits, ruined reputations, futures burned to ash. Maya stood at the center of it all, untouched. Then a final detail surfaced, a post buried beneath thousands of replies. Wait. If she owns 47% and the board just voted her full control, isn't she basically the CEO now? The question spread like wildfire. Maya didn't answer. She didn't need to, because Olivia Hartman stepped aside, her posture shifting from authority to deference. And for the first time, the crowd saw Maya not as the van-dwelling outsider, not as the charity case, but as what she'd been all along, the architect, the judge, the queen of the castle they'd tried to burn down. The camera's red light blinked once more, then it shattered. Olivia Hartman raised the tablet, her voice slicing through the chaos. Effective immediately, Victoria Grant is banned from all global Airbnb network properties, stripped of her board seat, and terminated from her advisory role. She scrolled, reading names like a roll call of disgrace. Marcus Lee, Elena, Park, Raj Patel, same penalties. Your contracts are void, your access revoked, your reputations, she paused, letting the silence hang, are no longer your own. Victoria lunged forward, gripping Olivia's arm. "You can't do this," she screeched. "This is defamation. I'll sue you all." Maya stepped in, her voice cold as ice. "You'll find the clause in your contract," she said, gesturing to the projector screen. Clause 12.7. Moral turpitude justifies immediate removal. She tilted her head. "You read it. You just didn't think it applied to you." A reporter shouted, "What about the live stream? The mockery online?" Maya's lips curved into a smile devoid of warmth. "Forwarded to every major news outlet, every brand sponsor, every university ethics board." She glanced at Victoria's trembling hands. "Your followers will desert you by morning." Victoria's phone buzzed violently. She glanced down. Her mentions were imploding. Van Life Fail had been hijacked. Turns out the van woman owns the company. Victoria Grant just humiliated herself. Proof that karma's real. A man in a velvet jacket muttered, "She's right. We're finished." Security arrived, their footsteps echoing like a death knell. Two guards took Victoria's arms, prying her off Olivia. "Get your hands off me!" she shrieked, but her voice cracked, high and hollow. As they dragged her toward the exit, she thrashed, her designer heels scuffing the marble. The crowd parted like water, no one meeting her eyes. Maya watched her go, unblinking. "Next," she said, her tone conversational. The room emptied in. Silence. By the time the door slammed shut, the ballroom felt lighter, as if the air itself had been cleansed. A woman in pearls whispered, "She planned this." Maya turned to her gaze softening. "No," she said. "I just refuse to be afraid of people who thought they'd already won." Somewhere a phone buzzed. A final tweet lit up the screen. "Van life owned." The queen reclaimed her throne. Maya smiled. The camera's red light blinked once. Then it died. Maya stood alone at the ballroom's edge, the echoes of Victoria's exit fading into silence. Olivia approached, tablet lowered, her posture softened by something almost reverent. "The board will need guidance," she said. "You've earned the right to lead." Maya shook her head. "I didn't come here to rule," she replied. "I came to remind people what matters." She turned, scanning the room. A few guests lingered, those who'd refused to mock, who'd looked away from cruelty, who'd quietly slipped Maya a napkin to wipe the wine from her sleeve. She met their eyes, one by one. "You stayed human," she said. "That's its own reward." A woman in pearls stepped forward, trembling. "I didn't do enough," she whispered. "You did what?" "You could," Maya said. "That's more than most." Outside, dawn bled gold across the marble floors. Maya exhaled, her shoulders easing for the first time, not in triumph, not in bitterness, but in quiet understanding. The crowd had scattered, but their whispers lingered. Van life owned, queen of the castle, karma in motion. She paused at the exit, glancing back. The shattered glass, the crumpled napkins, the dead camera, all remnants of a war fought not with rage, but with resolve. "Character isn't about power," she murmured, more to herself than anyone. "It's about how you treat someone you believe can do nothing for you." The doors closed behind her, the world waited, and for once, it listened. The screen faded to black. Then, stark white text burned into view. "Character is how you treat those you believe can do nothing for you." Maya's voice followed, calm but unshakable. "You've seen the truth. Now ask yourself, whose side would you have been on?" Tabung. Camera cut to her face. No longer the silent outsider, but the woman who'd rebuilt her throne from ashes. She stared into the lens, her eyes steady, knowing. A beat, a flicker of a smile. Then the screen split, left side. Victoria's tear-streaked face shoved into a waiting car. Right side, Maya stepping into dawn light, her shadow long, her posture unbroken. A final tweet scrolled beneath them. "Van life owned. The queen reclaimed." Her throne. The feed cut to black. A whisper of static. Then Maya's voice again, softer, intimate. "Stories like mine don't end in ballrooms. They end in the choices you make tomorrow. Who will you stand up for? Who will you see?" The screen brightened, revealing a single prompt. "Share if you believe in second acts or justice." The camera lingered on Maya's face. No smirk, no triumph. Just quiet certainty. Then the red light blinked once, and the screen went dark.